Justin has requested me on Patreon to review Charlie Chaplin's classic comedy, Modern Times, and I'm very pleased he wanted me to talk about this movie, and in particular Chaplin, because he is my favorite director. He had an incredible ability creating timeless comedies with a fantastic mix of humor, heart, and even social commentary. This resulted in one brilliant film after another, and of his many wonderful movies, Modern Times is my favorite. It has all the ingredients that make his film so special, although it also marked a notable film in his career, as it was the last time he played the tramp character that made him world famous. From the opening scene, it's clear that Chaplin will use the story to take on the way companies treat their employees. Taking direct aim at Henry Ford's assembly line process in particular, he created so many clever comical bits related to that and how the factory owner's main concern is getting everything built as quickly as possible. One of the funniest parts of the movie comes when Chaplin's factory workers made to test out an eating machine created to have workers eat their lunch without leaving the assembly line. It of course goes haywire, and Chaplin captures the frustrations of this superbly well with just his facial expressions. However, the film also highlights the mental anguish these sorts of conditions can have on people. As is often the case with Chaplin's films, you feel sympathy for the tramp as he finds himself in one scrap after another when all he wants is a job, but so many things go wrong. A running gag comes from him continually being thrown in prison for things that are not even his fault. In one pivotal scene, he picks up a flag that has fallen off a truck and tries to get the driver's attention, but is then mistaken for a communist and arrested. This scene is already a funny scenario, but would also become a strange case of foreshadowing in Chaplin's life, as he was assumed to be a communist himself, which resulted in him later being exiled from the United States. Throughout the film, he gives us one brilliant comedic set piece after another, and there are plenty of big laughs throughout. One hilarious scene has the tramp accidentally become high on cocaine, which was quite daring for the time. He not only knew how to handle physical comedy and silent film acting, but also had to string these sequences along in a story. He was a perfectionist, which is why his movies took so long to film, and not being part of the studio system, he had the freedom to do this. He had an incredible visual eye too, as shown with scenes like when he gets trapped in between the machine cogs. There's a reason that scene has been paid homage to again and again, and it perfectly highlights the theme of modern times. Even though he chose to keep the tramp a silent character, he did know how to use the newest filmmaking techniques like sound to his advantage. One clever device is that all the spoken dialogue comes from electronics like radios and the giant screen the factory owner uses to boss his employees. This is mainly done to emphasize the distance between people and machines, although it can also be seen as Chaplin commenting on what made it possible to add sound to movies. The only time we hear the tramp in the entire movie is a song number, but even in that case it's all gibberish, and part of the fun of the scene comes from his facial expressions. I think Chaplin was also excited the opportunity to compose his own music and have it sync up perfectly with the film, rather than rely on the piano players sitting in each movie theater. He worked alongside Alfred Newman and David Raxon on the score, and they produced some funny and lovely pieces. The most iconic is Smile, which was later given lyrics and could be considered the anthem of Chaplin's entire career. In Modern Times, the tramp becomes friends with a young woman trying to survive on the streets, played by Paulette Goddard. Chaplin and Goddard have fantastic chemistry with each other, and the friendship that blossoms between them is very sweet. They clearly relate to each other with their shared desire to just make a living and show the employers of the world what they're capable of. That's where a lot of the heart of the movie comes from, and it's great seeing the way they support each other through their shared ordeal. Something you'll sometimes hear about movies nowadays is that they're too political and just trying to preach a message to the audience, and why can't it be like the old days? However, this is hardly a new sentiment, as Chaplin was criticized by certain people for the social commentary and political themes in Modern Times, and he was accused of preaching a message to the audience. Chaplin's films were always political, though. He grew up in poverty, and he often uses films to highlight the conditions of the lower class, in addition showing his dislike towards authority figures like policemen, who are frequent obstacles for the tramp. And what's remarkable about Modern Times is how he gets more relevant with each passing year. I feel like Charlie Chaplin would have very strong opinions about companies now using AI to do tasks that would normally and preferably be done by people. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, Modern Times will be his last time playing the tramp, and he made this the perfect send-off. That final scene of him and Goddard walking down the road truly captured the spirit of a character Chaplin spent over 20 years developing on screen. Even when things seemed at the most bleak, the tramp maintained an optimistic spirit and just went on to the next great adventure. Modern Times works on multiple levels, as a social commentary, a hilarious comedy, and a touching story of two individuals who find each other at their lowest points and lift themselves up, hoping the next day is better. If you've never seen a Charlie Chaplin movie, this is a fantastic place to start. And if you have seen Modern Times, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for the request, Justin.